You know what? One of the things while studying this way in Pretorius, I was thinking, I would love to see Abigail when I get to heaven. Because one chapter, and she moved the heart of David. One chapter, Abigail. On this particular day, listen now. Abigail was assessing her food provision because it seems like on this farm, Abigail was like the manager. She was making sure there was enough food to feed all the workers because it was shearing time. And as she was going about her duty, she saw one of her husband's workers running towards her. She could tell that he was very upset. In any case, she called him. And on appearance, she noticed that his eyes were wild. And he was upset about something. And she asked, "What's the matter?" And he explained, "David protected us all year long. Not one of our animals disappeared because of the presence of David. And now David just asked for some food, but Nabal refused." Well, let's get acquainted to this guy whose name is Nabal. By now you picked up that his name means a fool. And I wonder how many Nabals are in our families. You know, during the preparation of this, it is sad to see how a husband or how a woman or how children can break their own family down. They act like Nabal. Nabal and his reputation is as vast as the countryside. Everyone had this fear and respect for this rude person. His own, according to the text, his own servants consider him to be worthless. And as I mentioned, his name speaks of a fool. Nabal was self-willed. Isn't it interesting that all fools are self-willed? Nabal was greedy. Isn't it interesting that all fools are greedy? Nabal was an angry man. All fools are angry. You would have expected him to be married to someone much like himself. And oh, Abigail, why did you marry Nabal? However, his wife Abigail was very much the opposite. Now, Abigail was a wise woman, the opposite of the fool. Abigail, as we will see, displays the rare qualities of discernment. Do you know that when one in the family wants to take the family away from the church, there must be one with discernment? Because, and I'd love to mention this morning, I mentioned it in so many other sermons, you will find that the family is well kept together. And you will find that mom and dad and kids serves the Lord. But you'll always find a fool that will find fault with God and bring his own family in predicaments. Discernment is the ability to read people and situations and act according to what's best for the family, not for you selfishly. A discerning person must be approachable. You will notice fools you can't approach. A discerning person must be realistic. You notice fools are not realistic. You will also notice fools are not trustworthy. You cannot trust a fool because you cannot trust his mouth. All of these traits of discernment shines beautifully in Abigail's character. Somebody say, oh, Abigail, Abigail, Abigail. Hey, Sister Abigail. I can just see this beautiful woman, Abigail. I cannot picture her. But if you can picture somebody in the Middle East, in that area, I can just see her skin color is a chocolate color. Oh, Abigail. But Abigail is married to a monster. Neighbor. There's a lot of neighbors in the houses. Come here, sit here, kick the gate. Where's my food? Give me this. The children are so scared for neighbors. Seems like Abigail is married to a neighbor here. Because somebody says true on that side. Ooh. Then you have David, a person who really needs no introduction. David and his men are forced to live in the wilderness. They were living in tents. Surely not a kingly life. David is hungry. David is dirty. David is tired. And David just asked from Nabal something to eat. Well, back to this young man standing in front of Abigail. Now, if you remember that David, a mighty warrior, David, the one about whom women sang songs. Women sang that song. Saul had killed his thousands and David had killed his tens of thousands. And it's not that Nabal didn't know who David was. Now, this was the same David who had slain the giant Goliath. There was a time when David and his men had dwelt into this wilderness called Moab while fleeing from Saul. So when Nabal's men had been in the wilderness tending their sheep, David watched out for Nabal's men and his sheep. David made sure that no harm came to them. David. So earlier that morning, David decided to call a favor back by sending some of his men to Nabal, requesting that Nabal provide food to help to feed his 400 men. David told his representatives to remind Nabal of what David had done for them. After all, it was because of David that Nabal had not lost one sheep. Or any one of his workers suffered harm because of David. Instead,